Good morning, Millennial Morticians. Happy Wednesday morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have such an exciting episode today. I have a special guest in-house, so I hope you're ready to receive him. The title of today's episode is I Need You. We're going to talk about pre-planning, pre-need industry. I have an expert in funeral services here to talk and indulge you. His name is Mr. Craig Stewart, 28 years in the funeral business. 2 at Need, and he's also a certified CPC, certified pre-need specialist. So get ready to receive him. He's great, and I'm excited. He has the enthusiasm of funeral service. He has the innovation of funeral service. So to prepare to welcome with me, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you. Thanks, Jake. Thanks for having me on. First of all, this is called Millennial Mortician meets the baby boomer mortician, right?
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to be with us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. No, I'm looking forward to this. Very much so.
So I know you're a busy man, so let's dive right into it. I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Can you explain to us the difference between pre-need and at-need funeral planning and why families choose one over the other? What's important about that?
Well, here's the thing. At need, you have no choice because someone you love passed away last night. You know, Jaden, you told me earlier, you just did an embalming last night. We're talking at need, meaning a death has occurred, and maybe it occurred last night, yesterday, but what are we doing now as funeral directors? We're serving that family in an at need way, meaning the death has just occurred. And now we're embalming, we're doing all the preparations we need to do. And maybe most importantly, although embalming is very important, don't get me wrong, is that at-need arrangement conference, right? Yes, and let me just say this. In my 28 years in this business, I can tell when a family walks in that funeral home and there is a pre-plan in place for their loved one. They walk in, they're still grieving. Don't get me wrong, they're grieving. But they have a certain relaxed demeanor about them, as opposed to that family who walks in and there is no plan in place whatsoever. They don't have the first idea of what mom, dad, or whomever it is, what they might want. They walk in like a deer in the headlights. They don't know what to expect. And they also are walking in there and they're now going to have a 3 to 5 hour possibly arrangement conference in front of them, as opposed to if mom or dad had done some pre-planning, that conference would last maybe 20 minutes to a half hour. They'd review what mom or dad wanted, review it, sign it, done. And guess where they're going? Back home to be with their family. And that is the most important place for them to be, not at the funeral home on the worst day of their life. No. Let them be home with their family. That right there, my friend, is the value, a big value of why pre-need, pre-planning makes so much sense. You're going to ease that burden, a significant burden from your family. So again, pre-need is just planning ahead, doing it before the case. Hey, I might want to do it. I'm older now, but there's young folks do it too, because they realize the value of this, of taking care of this ahead of time. And so there's a lot of different reasons why. But
it's important to pull out the fact that,
go ahead.
You can't put a number, I've started to realize this over my career, on life expectancy. We can no longer say, oh, I think I'll be here till, or, we never know.
That's correct. Just walk through a cemetery sometime and look at that birth date and death date. A lot of people under 50 years old in that cemetery. So it's something to just think about. Hey, we're human beings. We're all going to face something that most people are not prepared to deal with. Not prepared. Because, hey, today in our society in America, death is taboo. We don't want to talk about that. You kidding me? I would never want to talk about that. No, talk about it. It's called the cycle of life, and it's happening to each and every one of us.
Absolutely. So out of that, What would you say are some of the most common misconceptions that you get about pre-need?
Well, I would say the main one I've heard through all my years is, Craig, I'm not sure we want to do this because we're not sure where we're going to be when that time comes. We don't know where we may not be using XYZ funeral home down the road, etc. Well, here's the thing. When you pre-plan and prepay your funeral and you use insurance funding, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Most often today, the reason I'm a licensed funeral director and a licensed life insurance agent, I know this is going to speak a little bit to a question coming up, is because now we can plan it and we can fund it all in the same visit, and we're going to fund this through life insurance. Well, one of the benefits of using life insurance for your funding is it's portable. It can move with you. It might be assigned to the XYZ funeral home. Suddenly you decide, hey, I'm moving to Phoenix, Arizona. You take your pre-plan, you go to a funeral home in Phoenix and you say, hey, I have a prepaid plan. I would like to turn it over to you. Do you think that funeral home owner is going to turn it down? No. That's called cash flow.
No funeral home I know is going to turn that kind of deal down.
They are not turning it down. So therefore, the bottom line is it's portable, transferable to another funeral home. And the other thing I would say is people say, well, I know so-and-so, they had done this years ago and they still owed money at fulfillment, meaning person died and they still owed, a couple $1,000s. Here's the thing, Jaden, and to our audience, what that means is that pre-planning professional wasn't very professional because they did not do their job the way they should have. They didn't talk maybe about cash advances. They didn't talk about third-party items, cemetery. You can include a lot of that right in the funeral plan because most families don't realize there's two parts to this. They look at it as one. The funeral and the cemetery. That's two separate things.
Right.
Families tend to look at it as one thing. So maybe they did, all of a sudden they realized, wow, we owe $2,000. Well, that might be because you never paid the opening and closing at the cemetery. And right there's that, that's that number. So again, by knowledge is power. And
yes,
people know, and here's the thing, it's not because people or the public are stupid. No, what it is they're just uninformed. They don't, and that is our job. That is as funeral professionals, it is our responsibility to let people know what is involved. We are not sales. People say, well, I can't sell. I wouldn't be good in pre-need. I can't sell. You're not selling. What are you doing? You're providing information to families. That's what this is. We are information givers. I don't care if it's pre-need or at need. We are information givers.
What unique values and traits do you think your background as a funeral director and life insurance agent have brought to benefit you in this business? How has it helped you?
Well, in my 28 years, I've probably experienced most everything there is to experience. Right. But really what it comes down to is being knowledgeable, being competent and professional, building trust with people. People have to trust that you're coming from the right place, because if they think for 1 second you have dollar signs in your eyes, they are moving on from you. Absolutely. It's not happening. It is not happening. So what you need are empathetic skills, listening skills. God gave us 2 of these and 1 of these for a reason, because we are supposed to listen twice as much. So Absolutely. Listen. People will guide you on the way they want to go. You don't sit down and say, well, here's everything you can do. Boom, 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 boom. No. You start out this conversation with Mr. and Mrs. Jones. If I could ask, what has been traditional for your family? That's all you have to say. They're going to tell you. They're going to tell you their tradition. They may want to start their own tradition. Well, now it's our responsibility through our knowledge base is to let them know what's involved in that particular decision.
And to facilitate that.
And to facilitate it and do it right. Because here's the thing. If you mess up on a pre-need, that family's going to be thinking, well, if they're messing up on a pre-need, they must not be very good at need. So they're going to think twice. So you better get it tightened up, buttoned up, and have it understood. And here's the thing. It's a very simple process. Our goal is to keep it simple for the family, because the second that family is confused, they will not make a decision. That not today.
And what are some key factors that drive a family into making, pre-need decisions? What are some things that you hear people talk about that are super important to them in this process?
Well, the main thing is they want to be able to set money aside. They want to be able to make their own decisions. And primarily, they want to ease that burden from their family on what's going to be the worst day of their life. This is no different than any other quote protection that families would have, homeowners insurance, car insurance, medical insurance. Hey, pre-planned, pre-funded funeral is equally as important. And it's really goes hand in hand with estate planning. You get your will done, you get your living will, you get your funeral plan done as well. So these are some of the things that families will, mainly be concerned about. Primarily is make their own decisions and ease that burden from their family.
Can you talk about some of the marketing agencies out there? What makes the one you work for different, and how you can use that in the world wherever you're living in to facilitate an effective pre-need plan?
Let me just say this. I'm a consultant for Premier Pre-Need. I'm not an employee of theirs. I'm an independent consultant. I'm primarily a pre-need cemetery and funeral sales trainer. That's my main thing these days. But again, a marketing company is more directed for the funeral home so that their footprint is solid in the market. That if someone Googles a funeral home, you're coming up first at the top of that search. So, and the marketing, there's a lot of different lead generation programs that these marketing companies, and there's a number of them, 5, 6 major ones throughout the country. And their primary focus is exposure for the funeral home business so that families know they're there. Because some funeral home owners will say, well, we're really not worried about it because, these are our families. Oh, okay. They're your families. All right. Well, hopefully that's the case, because here's the thing. With the transient society today, people are moving. The kids may not even be aware that that's your family. They don't know. So the best thing is to get that family. You want them to be your family, write a pre-need, put it in a pre-need file. Now there's a pretty good high probability that they're going to be your family. So
absolutely. So locking into that.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Locking into a good and effective funeral home is important. It's important.
There's no question about it. No question about it.
Wow. Yep. I got one more question before you go.
Let's do it.
If there's any words of advice you could give to my audience, to my group of millennial morticians, what would it be as the industry is changing and evolving and as pre-need is becoming more demanding and popular?
Here's the thing. Yes, it's evolving. Yes, it's changing. There's a lot of technological things that are enhancing exposure, like many of the things I said. But here's the thing, Jaden, and to our audience, is this is a relationship business. It always will be. Always will be. People want to see you. They want to, shake your hand, look you in the eye, and sit down, whether that family's coming into the funeral home to talk or you're going to their home. I would say 80% of my pre-need, when I was doing personal production pre-need, was in the family's home. And here's the thing. 2/3 of people believe that pre-planning is really a good thing to do. 2/3, right? Yet less than half of those people, less than half of that 2/3 has done a thing about it. And the main reason why is because they're uninformed. They don't know about it. So it's our job, our responsibility. Like I said, stand on the rooftops, shout this out. We need to get this information to you so you are prepared, so your family is prepared. And here's the thing, folks. This is not about death. It is not about death at all. 3 things. It's about protection, protecting your family. It is about peace of mind, your peace of mind. And thirdly, it is about love. because this is the last loving gift that you can give to your family. So please, folks, get that message out. If you don't understand, you contact Jaden, you contact me, and we will get you the tools you need to inform families. That's what we want to do.
Well, Mr. Stewart, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to be with us. It's an absolute honor and pleasure having you. Your skills, your talents, and your gifts, they're going to go so far in this industry, and your enthusiasm.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it. Maybe we'll do this again sometime. I'm going to have you on my podcast. That's coming up.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Have a good one.
Take care.
Well, Millennial Morticians, that concludes another wonderful episode of the podcast. I thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. Look forward to tuning in with you next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Hopefully you were blessed and encouraged today by Mr. Stewart. He's such a great influence to this industry and to this business. And I look forward to seeing you guys again. Stay blessed. And remember, this is the